St Hilda's Church, Hartlepool, a tour. The church was begun about 1190 and incorporates the remains of an earlier 12th century church. The tower dates from the mid-13th century, but later in that century shoring walls and buttresses were added to support it. These form the Galilee Chapel. The church is entered through the south door of this Galilee Chapel. Until 1931, this was open, with a path running through it, and had a street lamp in the centre. A plaque in the chapel commemorates its restoration by the Freemasons of the Hartlepools. The church is entered via the ramp. Notice the splendid view down the full length of the building. This is the result of moving the wooden screen from the chancel arch in 2003, when the Visitors Centre was incorporated into St Hilda's. In its present position, the screen serves to demarcate the worship and social sections of the church. We go ahead to the font, which is used at the baptism of children. It was given in 1728 by George Bowes, Mayor of Hartlepool. His daughter married John Lyon, 9th Earl of Strathmore, and from this marriage the late Queen Mother's name, Bowes-Lyon, originates. Next we turn left into the north aisle of the church. Here is the first of the series of storyboards which form the information section of the Visitor Centre. The first is devoted to St Hilda, to whom the church is dedicated. In 649 she was sent by Aidan to take charge of the monastery, which he had established here in 640. In 657, Hilda was sent by King Oswy to found a new monastery at Whitby, where she stayed until her death in 680. Above and to the right of this storyboard are two sets of windows depicting the northern saints who contributed so much to the spread of Christianity in this area, and Bede, who documented it. We proceed along the north aisle towards the east end of the church. The next storyboard deals with the building of the church. Subsequent boards give information about personalities associated with the area, the last being Jane Bell, whose brass and associated plaque are mounted on the north wall of the church. At the end of the north aisle, in front of the organ pipes, are displayed two models of the church, and an information sheet outlining the development of the church from 1724, when, for safety reasons, the east end was demolished. The left-hand model, made from cork, shows the church as it was in 1870, when the first addition was made to the east end. The Galilee Chapel at the west end of the building is open to the elements. The right-hand model, made from matchsticks, shows the church as it was after the massive restoration of 1925 to 1932, which brought the church back to its original size. The Galilee Chapel has now been enclosed. Notice also the difference of scale in the east window. We make our way into the chancel. Above us, as we stand on the step, is a hanging cross designed by the late Ron Sims, architect of the Visitor Centre works. A contemporary design reflecting the crucifixion of Jesus, hence the Latin superscription Jesus Nazarenus Rex Judaeorum, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews, cleverly combined with the Greek letters Alpha and Omega, recalling Jesus' words in the New Testament, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. On the left is the organ, built by Peter Conacher of Huddersfield in 1870s. Adrian Cook's restoration of 1990-91 included the provision of several electronic stops to supplement the existing pipework. Next we proceed into the sanctuary, round the left-hand end of the communion rail. Notice, on the floor, the plaque commemorating Canon Salter, who was rector at the time of the 1925 to 1932 restoration. In the south wall opposite us, windows depicting Christ at the Sea of Galilee, or is it Tees Estuary, in memory of Dr. Morrison, founder of the Boys' Brigade in Hartlepool. Below there is an inscription noting the financial support of Sir William Gray to the restoration as a thank offering for the safe return of his only son from the First World War. Another window shows St Hilda holding her staff of office as abbess of the monastery here, and this church, inserted in 1914 by their children in memory of William and Margaret Geipel, who had worshipped here for some 50 years. Going through the door on the left of the altar into the Bruce Chapel, on the right is the Bruce tomb, thought to have been that of Robert Bruce IV, who was responsible for building at least part of the church. As the crest on its south side is not that of the Bruce family, the matter is in some doubt. The figure above the tomb is thought to be of a northern European merchant with a bag of money in his left hand and a dog at his feet. Going through the door into the south side of the sanctuary, look across to see in the north wall a depiction in glass of Holman Hunt's picture, The Light of the World. On the floor is a plaque commemorating the burial beneath of the remains of friars from Hartlepool Franciscan Friary, 1239 to 1539, which stood northeast of the church. Nearer to the communion rail is another plaque commemorating the burial there of the remains of a nun of the 7th century monastery, of which St Hilda was abbess, discovered by the Time Team archaeologists in September 1999. Next, we turn left into St Nicholas Chapel. Mounted on the wall is a Saxon grave marker. Note the Christian cross, the Greek letters Alpha and Omega, which the architect has adopted as logos of the church. The person's name written in runic script, probably that of a nun, certainly not that of Hilda, whose place of burial we do not know. It is interesting that while we do not know the site of the Hartlepool monastery, the site of its burial ground, identified by a plaque opposite to South Crescent, southeast of the church, yielded both the grave marker in 1833 and the remains of the nun in 1999. Round the grave marker are mounted 4 ammonites, which have become St Hilda's logo, and relate to the legend of how she rid Whitby of snakes. At the bottom of the pillar, behind the choir stall, are crosses said to have been made by those who spent the night at St Hilda's before going on crusades. As we proceed down the ramp into the south aisle, we see storyboards commemorating Richard Threlkeld of the Franciscan Friary, Captain Richard Webb, the 1616 map of the Bishopric of Durham is fascinating and makes clear just how much of a peninsula the headland is. Sir Cuthbert Sharp, well known for his history of Hartlepool, and the church building and some of its personalities in 2003. Note the view down the church with the screen in its original position. At the western end of the aisle is the wooden porch given in 1955 by Yorkshire Rugby Union and Hartlepool Rovers Rugby Football Club in memory of a distinguished player, R.F. Oakes. We go through the Oakes Memorial Porch to the far end of the south porch, which was used as the main entrance to the church before 2003. Turn round and you will see the Norman arch with its semicircular peak and chevroned patterns on all faces. According to Tees archaeology, this arch is from the earlier 12th century church and is probably some 50 years older than the present building. We return into the main body of the church, the nave. Looking at the north wall, note that the arches there have the pointed peaks that are characteristic of the early English style of architecture. After going through the screen, look at the window at the western end of the north wall, a nativity scene. The most recent of the church's windows, it dates from February 1939 and commemorates the children of William and Margaret Geipel, who were commemorated in the St Hilda window in the chancel. We hope that you have enjoyed your tour of the church.